So Peter and Jennifer Emerson, so good to have you with us today. We were talking before we started recording, actually last night. Peter, you and I have some similarities about places we have lived and been and done, and It was kind of neat to see all those connections and similarities. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about your new concert event called He Rules the World. And if you were trying to convince someone, a friend, a family member, a stranger on the street, to try to encourage them to see the concert event, He Rules the World, what would you say to encourage or convince them? I mean, what would your sales pitch be?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us here today, Chris. We really appreciate this opportunity, and we're excited to get the message about He Rules the World out to your audience. He Rules the World is a family-friendly, high-energy, 90-minute long rock concert that tells the nativity story in its completion. You get to hear from the perspective of the participants that are actually in the story as we present this to you.
That's fantastic. So for everyone and anyone involved in music, there always seems to be a trigger, a tipping point, a moment where you say to yourself, I have to do this project. You know, it's just stirring in your soul so much. For the two of you, what was that moment?
Well, for me, the creation of the project came from, years and years of being a musician and supporting other artists and as a music educator. But a few years back, I took my daughter to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah.
And they're fantastic. I loved everything about what they did. They had, big light show and lasers and smoke, LED screens and soaring guitar solos, and everything that they were doing was fantastic. And the people around us were enjoying it, and we were having a great time. But while I was sitting there, I was thinking, wow, that's really cool. And I'm like, well, I can do that. And then towards the end of the piece, I was thinking, why am I not doing this? And one of the things that stood out most to me about that experience, I absolutely loved it, was that their Christmas story was really about the spirit of Christmas and not really about Christ in Christmas. And so I decided to take my skills and put them to use to create a show that told the nativity story in its completion, and that's where He Rules the World came from.
That's fantastic. I love the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, but you are right. It's just sort of the vibe of Christmas. It's not the Christmas story that we all know from the Bible. You could have created any of a number of live concert experiences, but you chose to do one on Christmas, a Christmas-themed event with stories and music that people have definitely seen and experienced before. So the question is, why Christmas? I mean, you've shared a little bit already, but you could have done anything.
Well, we both absolutely love Christmas, and we just feel that people get so busy at Christmas time that it's hard to stay focused on the reason why we celebrate Christmas. So Christmas is special for me. I grew up in the church, and I loved the pageantry of the Christmas Eve service, the candles, the wreaths, the chrismon trees, and all of the hymns. And if you think about the hymns, each of the hymns only tells a fragment of the story. It's like a stained glass window.
Interesting.
So He Rules the World is a collection of these stained glass windows where I take the original hymn melody from Joy to the World and use that as a launching point to expand and explore the emotions first person from the participants in the story. And so what I did is I lined those up in order to create the story using those familiar hymn melodies, so people that will come to the show will understand and hear some of the melodies. They'll go, and they'll be able to hum along with a lot of the show.
Sure. This is a big undertaking. So let's back up just a moment. What is your background in music that led you to this place, I guess? Because this isn't just like, we're going to do a concert here and show. I mean, this is a big production. So tell us a little bit about your background in music.
I've been involved in music my entire life, starting out singing in the church choir at a very, very early age. Started playing piano when I was in middle school and kind of took off from there. After high school, I was a pianist in the U.S. Marine Band.
Yes, that's right.
And fortunate enough, I got to perform for Presidents Reagan, Ford, Bush, and Nixon at a very early age, and that really kind of set the tone for me. And I've been blessed throughout my career of being able to perform with some really pretty high-level musicians, and I went to some pretty good schools for music, Berklee College of Music in Boston, and a master's degree in jazz studies from the University of North Texas. And I've been a jazz educator for the past 19 years as well. So that's kind of my background in that, and I've continued to have a church gig as a musician for First Baptist Church of Waco.
Very good. Yeah. Very good.
And I've appreciated music for a very long time, but I come at it from a very different background. My background is I'm a corporate and securities attorney and an accountant. So Peter is the creative guy who, knows how to write the show and put on a really great show. And I do the behind the scenes to make sure that we can pull it all together. And what got me so interested in He Rules the World was I heard a demo recording of it, and I just thought, this is something I want to take my daughter to. I have a 9-year-old. You asked about why Christmas, what Christmas means to us, and I'm very intentional about what I will take her to, and it's harder and harder to find age-appropriate entertainment options.
Sometimes it feels impossible
It does.
to find something that's good for your family.
And so I heard the demo, and I just felt I just felt like I was sitting in the theater, my daughter next to me, surrounded by families, watching this. And I turned to Peter and I said, we have to produce this. We have to do this. Other families are craving this. And what an opportunity to talk about Jesus in a non-threatening, this is a rock concert. Yes, it's about Jesus, and yes, you'll get something out of that, and it's God is in charge of how that resonates with each one of us, but what an opportunity.
I love attending concerts. I just love the experience. I love hearing the music, feeling the music, the vibe around me. If you don't mind, take me through what people can actually expect to experience at He Rules the World. You mentioned Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Is that kind of what we're talking about here, or is it something totally different?
Well, a little bit. It is different because the music comes from me in a place where my influences lie. So I'm a big fan of classic rock. So anything from Styx to Toto to Kansas to
Journey,
absolutely.
Like that, sure.
But even Stevie Wonder, the Beatles, all of that. I absolutely love all of that. And so you can hear the influences of all of that in the different pieces of music. But as far as the stage show goes, we have some projection elements in it. Our other executive producer is actor Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
And Kevin provides narration for us in this, and we were fortunate enough to find a Christian animation house in London called Wonder Story, and they do animation for us that Kevin narrates that plays between most of the songs, then it helps forward the story. So we've got a light show, a live band on stage, some projection.
Pyrotechnics? Any explosions, any fire?
Not yet, but we're working on it.
That's on the 5-year plan.
That
is on the 5-year plan. Absolutely.
Right. Well, you mentioned Kevin Sorbo, and Kevin is a longtime Hollywood actor. Hercules, most people know him for. He's not only a producer with you, but as you mentioned, he's narrating. What does that aspect of Kevin being the narrator bring to the production to give it more flavor?
Mm-hmm. We wanted Kevin Sorbo involved in the project because he's got an amazing voice, and because he promotes traditional values, which is aligned with what Peter and I are doing. And it's been really exciting for all of us to work together.
Yeah, Kevin's a great guy. I've interviewed him many times over the years. He's a great golfer, if you know that.
He's a prolific golfer.
Yes, yeah, let's take it up a level. Prolific. Okay, so what are some familiar Christmas songs that people will recognize in He Rules the World? I'm sure there's a lot of traditional ones and some new ones too, some original compositions. Tell me about some of the music that's actually going to be
So
in it.
yeah, as I said, each of the songs in the production uses at least one hymn melody as a launching point, but it really weaves in and out of those melodies with new lyric material that's first person telling the story of the nativity. So He Rules the World literally has a bunch of familiar tunes in it, like Joy to the World and Away in the Manger. We even use the Coventry Carol, which is a carol that a lot of people won't readily know because it's not one that you're going to hear in church on Christmas, but it is about the slaughter of the innocents. And so when we have Herod in the show singing about finding out that Jesus' birth is happening and wanting to kind of trick the wise men into telling him where he is so that he can do bad things, that melody is the launching point for that song. And so it weaves in and out.
And we have a trailer on our website that people can look at, herulestheworld.com. We also have links to our social media on the website. We're on Facebook and Instagram at He Rules the World Show. We're on X, formerly Twitter, at He Rules Show. And you can listen to the whole soundtrack on Spotify, Pandora, other major streaming platforms by
that's
listening
already
to
available.
He Rules the World. We recorded that in December 2022 when we
that's
did
great.
the premiere performance in Austin, Texas. Yes.
Wonderful. So the two of you have been deeply immersed in this project. That's an understatement,
Yes.
I'm sure. But as you were putting this together, I'm sure there's something about the Christmas story and the birth of Jesus that maybe you never realized before. Maybe you never knew. A wow moment. Was there anything like that for you folks as you were preparing?
Yeah, I can speak to a couple of them. I could speak for hours on it if you'd like. But one that comes to mind is the gifts. We three kings: frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Right. So we sing about this, but we don't think about it. So what dawned on me that was a revelation in my really digging into this and doing my due diligence is that God provided those gifts through the wise men at a time that he knew the family would need them in order to flee to Egypt. They wouldn't have had the resources on hand to make that journey.
That's great.
And now God has provided that gift, provided that opportunity, and that's reflected in the show after the birth when Joseph is visited in the dream, and he says, "Hey, Mary, go get the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We've got to go."
Never thought of it that way before.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty profound.
And one of the things that's really significant for me was, many of us know the nativity story, but Mary and Joseph seem a bit abstract. I mean, Mary's this, just amazing woman. But what I took away from He Rules the World was this real human element. There's a song where she's saying, why me? I'm just a girl from Galilee. And thinking about, wow, a 14 or 16-year-old girl and getting the news that you're going to birth a child who's, not from the man that you're engaged to, and thinking through that and Joseph's reaction. And even there's a song from the perspective of the innkeeper, and he's, is there something more to this couple? Like, this seems like this is more momentous than, what are we witnessing tonight? And I never really thought about what the innkeeper might have gone through. So that's one of the very unique things about He Rules the World.
Like the inside story
Yes.
behind this. This is great.
And all biblically based.
Yeah, excellent. So you are a husband and wife team that have been working diligently to put this project together. I'm not so sure I could work with my wife that closely to put something together of this magnitude. How has that experience gone for the two of you? I'm sure there was maybe a tense moment here and there, but for the most part, how has that process worked for the two of you?
I'm just happy to praise God that He gave us this union that allows us to do this. Jen is great to work with. She is detail oriented, where I am big picture, and so I think we really just complement each other in ways that. And we're old enough to appreciate the gifts that each one brings to the table.
And Jennifer remains silent. No.
I echo all of that. We do. We our strengths are in different areas, and we bring that all together. Sure, there's tense moments sometimes, but by the grace of God, we communicate well and we talk it through, and it's working.
As I said, if my wife and I worked on a project like this, I'd be on the couch a few nights. I got to be honest.
And thank goodness she laughs at my jokes.
Yeah,
So
that's important.
That is important.
That's crucial. So after people have had a chance to attend and see He Rules the World, what would you like to see your audience take away from that experience? I mean, what's your greatest hope for all of this?
I see families enjoying this together. I mean, this is something that there's something for all generations in this. The parents and grandparents are going to recognize the influences of the bands that Peter mentioned, Styx, Steely Dan, Kansas, others. The young kids are going to recognize those melodies like Joy to the World and hum along. And we even had teenagers are very hard to impress. And
yes, they are.
We had a 12-year-old after who saw the concert who said, "Man, this is the best concert I've ever seen." And he said, "And that keytar was amazing." And so come out and see what the keytar is. But what I want families to leave feeling like we did something great together. We can feel good about that we all did this together, and feeling like in the midst of a very fractured world that there's still hope and joy.
Amen.
And
Amen.
that the free gift that God offers to each and every one of us it's available.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so now the $64,000 question, nuts and bolts information. Where can people go to learn more about He Rules the World? You've referenced a couple of times already,
Yes.
but let's just make it very clear where people can go to find out more.
He Rules the World is available at herulestheworld.com for more information. People can sign up for more information going forward as to when tickets are going to be available. We're performing at the Waco Hippodrome Theater December 11th through 14th this year, 2024. And we are available on Facebook and Instagram at #HeRulesTheWorldShow. And on X, formerly known as Twitter, on He Rules Show. And like we said, you can check out our excellent cast. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our featured performer is a gentleman by the name of David Gashin, who is most known for being a Broadway star and performing in the Phantom of the Opera as the Phantom over 1,300 times. Strong Christian man and very excited to be involved in a project that glorifies God. But you can find the soundtrack of our 2022 premiere on Spotify, Apple Music, and iTunes, and everything else, searching for He Rules the World.
Okay, once again, the name of the concert event is He Rules the World, taking place in Waco, Texas, in December. So go to those websites, all those social media handles, get more information. Peter and Jennifer Emerson, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Chris.